Are we next? Are we? Could be. Hey, everybody. Rich with Prep U down here in the new bunker. Coming to you, giving you my case for the fact that yes, I believe we are next, or our interests are next. No matter how you look at it, that makes it we're next. Not coming to you from a political point of view today, a geopolitical avenue, or trying to throw politics or anything. The reason I bring this up is because of what's behind me. Are we next? Are you prepared? That's where I'm coming from. That's where this whole thing comes from. That's where this whole channel comes from. I want to give you what I believe is solid evidence that, in fact, we are next. And if we are next, who's next after us? And how things could domino effect throughout the world. So let me just go over what I've got on my notes. I don't have any clairvoyance. I'm not Nostradamus. I don't have contacts with Homeland Security anymore like I used to. But I know people. I hear things. I have common sense. I know something's up. And you can just read the tea leaves. That's all you have to do. And that's what you have to do as preppers. You have to have that sixth sense awareness that, this doesn't make any sense. And I don't care what the news say. I definitely don't care what the politicians are telling you because it's all BS. You gotta read through the lines. You gotta look at different news sources. Unfortunately, a lot of times those news sources have to come from outside the United States to really get what's going on. But let's face it, we know what just happened. Hamas brutally and savagely attacked civilians in Israel. Sure, they took out some military stuff, but those were just guys and gals at the gates to Israel from Gaza. And they were just in their way. They were just in their way to attack civilians and make as many civilians dead as possible. And they didn't care where those civilians came from. They didn't care if those civilians were Jewish. They didn't care if they were Gentile. They didn't care. Whoever they saw, they killed, they murdered, they raped, they bludgeoned, cut off heads, took hostages. That's what they did. And are we next? The countries, this thing didn't change anything. Attitudes. Countries that hate Israel, countries that hate us, people that hate us, they still hate us. Doesn't matter how bad the atrocities were. They're okay with it. Look at the Palestinians in Australia screaming for all Jews to be gassed. Look at the people at Harvard, all the organizations from Harvard condemning and blaming Israel for this. And they're blaming us too. They still hate us. They still want us dead. They still want us off the face of this earth. They want to get cells inside this country and other countries and to produce as much havoc, mayhem, and death as humanly possible. And they don't care how they do it. And they don't care if they die doing it. Let's look at some of the things that put all this stuff together and why I believe it's already here. British papers reported cells of Hamas are already in the United States. Not only Hamas, Hezbollah, there's major gangs from Mexico, Russia, Somalia, all around the globe, already in this country, living, working day to day. Their true feelings, their true reason for being here, probably not out in the open. And look at members of the Democratic Party, the Squad specifically. Squad hates this country. Now, do they really hate this country? I'll tell you one thing, the people that voted them in do, Because it's not just them. They just can't vote themselves in. But they live in areas where the majority of the people, their constituents, hate this country. And the funny thing about that is they came to this country because we gave them a chance to come here for freedom, to make a life for themselves, to raise their family. Doesn't matter. They hate us. Doesn't matter where they're from. If you look at the news and you hear all the time about the border, all right, and what are they constantly saying? Thousands of people came across the border over the last month, mostly males of military age are the ones coming across. Some with small kids, some with families, some by themselves. And that's the ones they know of. They're saying thousands of military men have crossed our borders from Africa, the Middle East, China, which is very disturbing, and Pakistan. Could a majority of those thousands and thousands just be here because they wanted to get away from the country? They didn't want to serve in the military in their countries? Sure, probably. Better life? Yeah. Take 2% of those. Thousands and thousands. What are they doing here? Think of the fact that we just freed up, or our president, President Biden, just freed up $8 billion of frozen assets for Iran, one of the world's greatest state sponsors of terrorism, who to this day say, "Death to America, we are the great Satan." Now they have more money. Now some may say that none of that money went to buy rockets for Hamas, ammunition, firearms, explosives, planning, vehicles. Money is very fungible. If I've got a bunch of money here and I'm going, I don't know what I'm going to spend this on. You know, I need to pay the rent. Gosh, you know what? I need food. Boy, but I really want that new Henry 4570. I really, really want it with some ammunition. Oh, wait. Oh, look. Down the road, I'm going to have this windfall. So I can spend some of this. I can go hungry. I can eat ramen for a few weeks and buy that really nice Henry because I've got this money coming. Money is fungible. I don't care what your politicians tell you. It is, and that's what it was used for. But that's not just that $8 billion. What about the plane loads of cash that President Obama sent to Iran to try to get a deal, a nuclear deal, secured? Where'd that money go? Humanitarian aid? They buy roses for their girlfriends? I don't think so. And what about that nuclear deal? What happens if Iran finishes their work on a nuclear weapon and ICBMs? The world's going to change real quick. Real quick. And there's reports from a British newspaper that some of the $8 billion, or some of the billions of dollars of military equipment that was left behind when we put our tails between our legs and vamoosed, thanks to President Biden, out of Afghanistan without thinking of the consequences, was actually used by Hamas to attack Israel. They still have a lot more equipment there. And as a matter of fact, a court just found the Biden administration guilty of several different ethics codes in regards to the Afghanistan. Not to mention the cost of 13 brave American soldiers and sailors that lost their lives. Read the book, Kabul. It's a very good read, very important read. Just this year, 150 individuals on the terror watch list were apprehended coming into this country and detained. Those are the ones we know about. How many getaways, of the tens of thousands of getaways were known terrorists. Oh, let's just say half a percentage were. That'd be more than 150 right off the bat are now in this country. Didn't take too many to do 9/11, did it? Just think what a handful of Hamas or Hezbollah or Republican Guard or Red Army could do to this country. How many Death to America people are in this country right now? We have no idea. What happens if what happened in Israel continues? What happens if it strikes here? What if it's just a power grid failure? What if they take down the grid? What if it's infrastructure attack? What if it's attack on our schools? What if it's attack on churches, synagogues, mosques? What happens? Tell you what happens. We become weakened. And if we become weakened internally and have to turn internally, what happens next? Does China go into Taiwan? Can't do anything about it. We got our own problems. Does Iran go into Saudi Arabia? Can't help them. And now, thanks to President Biden, we are totally dependent. Well, I shouldn't say totally. That'd be a lie. We're not totally dependent on other countries for our oil, but we are dependent on many countries. And if this starts escalating, those countries are not going to give up their oil. They're not going to give up their fuel. And we don't have the capacity to get ours back up and running. Our strategic reserves are critically low. This is reported in every newspaper around. I don't care if it's a liberal or a conservative newspaper. Everyone knows that our reserves are low. Again, thanks to Biden taking some of that out of there and also selling some of our strategic reserves to China. Yeah, I said it. He actually sold some of our critical reserves to China. And we don't have those. How are we going to run our military? How are we going to protect our borders? And if our grid goes down, or if there's individual cells attacking this country, what happens next? What happens 2-3 days down the road? You know what happens in an earthquake? You get a really good earthquake, and then you get another one. Yeah, maybe it's not as big. Sometimes bigger though. And another one. And another one. You know, it's kind of like the bullfighter and the bull. Whatever those little spiky sword things that he keeps putting in the bull, putting in the bull, putting in the bull, just picking away at him as that bull bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. That's all it takes, and gets worse and worse. Now we don't know who we trust. You trust your neighbor? You didn't care who your neighbor was 10 minutes ago before these attacks happened. But now you're getting attacked from Hamas, getting attacked from Hezbollah, getting attacked from maybe a cell in Pakistan, maybe somebody from India, maybe somebody from Russia. I don't think Canada's going to attack us, but you never know. Who do you trust? Maybe a Mexican gang, a cartel. They decide, oh, America's weak. Now we attack. Who are you going to trust? Who are your neighbors? Who do you really trust anymore? We start fighting amongst ourselves, and America's gone. We start fighting amongst ourselves, physically fighting amongst ourselves. We're done for. So, are we next? I think so. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to protect yourself and your family if need be? Do you have the supplies? Do you have the food to sustain yourself when the grids go down, when food doesn't get delivered, when plants continue to burn? We've already had processing plant after processing plant, warehouse after warehouse burned to the ground for no apparent reason. Is that all planned? Do we know why? There was just a natural gas issue out east, and it came out to be sabotage. Were they testing the system? Were they seeing what it takes to take out a gas line? I don't know. It is definitely the time to keep your head on a swivel. Like I always say at the end of our videos, always be prepared. All right? Be aware of your surroundings at all times, no matter if you're work, play, home, vacation, wherever. Always be aware of your surroundings, now more than ever. You drive down a road every day. Let me give you a good example. You drive down a road every day going to work. Same road every day. You know everything on that road. Nothing passes you. And then all of a sudden, you go, hey, when did that happen? When did they do that? Well, maybe it was yesterday. Or maybe you were so dead set, everything's the same. Every time you go somewhere, you didn't notice that. And it's been like that for 3 weeks. You get to work and they say, Rich, it's been like that forever. Well, how long's it been like that? 3 weeks. Really? Yeah, you must not notice it. Now's the time to notice everything. And I know they talked about after 9/11, look for, the backpack by itself. Look for the backpack by itself. Don't touch it. Look for things out of place. Look for people in warm weather wearing a heavy trench coat. All right? Look for people carrying stuff that looks odd. Why is he doing that? Look for people in cars that shouldn't be set up someplace. Look for people that you notice that are kind of checking your business out, or the power plant, or you see somebody with like binoculars looking at patterns. We in the fire department and the police department would always look for patterns. Okay? Were they testing us? Were they testing to see how fast we could respond, what our capabilities are? That's what cells do. And that's what they're going to continue to do. So take that extra time to be prepared. Have your go bag, have your everyday bag filled to the brim. Back it up. Medical supplies specifically. If you never taken a first aid class, take that first aid class. If you need to up your skills, if you're a retired fireman, paramedic, or whatever, and you haven't done something for a while, go back to the fire department you were at and say, hey, guys, a little rusty on doing IVs. Help me out. Be prepared. Get ready. Keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you know what's going on. Make sure you know where your family is at all times. Is it school? What's going on at school? Where's your wife? Where's your husband? Where's your significant other? Let them know where you are. Let them find out where they're going. Instead of being freaked out when something happens, you'll know where your family is. It's so very important. And please, pass this on to everybody. You might say that, Rich, you're just a nut. You're just a conspiracy theorist. Well, I am a conspiracy theorist. But the crazy thing about being a conspiracy theorist, I got to look for conspiracies because all the ones that I used to talk about have come true. They're there. They're out there. So, please, get yourself prepared. Get your food supplies up. If you got a little extra money, get a little more ammo. Get a few more 5-gallon cans of fuel. Have fuel to stand by. Have a generator. Be prepared to shelter in place, and hopefully you don't have to bug out. Bugging out is the worst, absolute worst thing you can do because you can't take everything with you and you're going to run out of stuff as you go. So, there you go. That's my case for Are We Next? Yep, I believe we are. So, anyhow, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Hello, Lily. How you doing? But anyhow, lost my train of thought. Thanks, Lo. Be prepared. Keep your head on a swivel. Always be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you have to shelter in place 3, 6, 9 months of food, water, filtration equipment, ammunition to protect you and your family. And if you have extended family that are coming to you, if shit hits the fan, make sure you know what they need. If they've got little kids, do you need diapers? Do you need formula? You stuff like that. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But if you need it, you're in big trouble. And please, prep like your life depends on it, because it really does. Now more than ever. Thanks a lot. Take care. We'll see you in the next video.